act of having sex, of being sexual, is a good thing. There's a big study in men that showed that men who had sex twice a week versus men who had sex once a month, they had a 50% lower death rate over a 10-year period. They died half as often. I'm doing some math for you guys.
I really feel like we don't speak about this enough is people don't realize how often men are experiencing a lack of intimacy. And the only place that they can experience that intimacy is through sex. We've created a society where men are so afraid to be vulnerable with each other, to be, sensitive with each other, to care for each other, to love each other. Even saying that as a guy, you always have to change and be like, you can't just say, I love you. You have to be like, I love you, dog. You know what I mean? You got to throw it like you can't just say it. And it's interesting because that is where I do feel women have done a much better job of being there intimately for each other.
Men release testosterone whenever they have sex, but only oxytocin if they're in love with the woman.
Oh my God.
It's an evolutionary mechanism, but it's the explanation for the fact that if a woman sleeps with a man enough times, she's going to start falling in love. Whereas for a man, it's not necessarily going to happen. And, that is the basis of so many relationship issues. You've heard it before. Let's keep it casual, but we are having sex. The woman kind of thinks at some point he's going to change his mind and we're going to be in a relationship. But if that's what the guy's told you from the start, physiologically, chemically, it's not going to change for him.
Hey fam, today's video is quite interesting. In this video, we'll be talking about the importance of sex to a man, the importance of sex in a man's life. They need it to survive. I didn't say what, they need it to survive. I didn't make this up. Science did. We're going to talk about that. Science said so. We are going to talk about that later in this video. Men struggle with intimacy in the society due to our societal construct. The best way they get intimate, the best way they form bond with another human being is when they are having an intercourse with a woman they care about. I'm talking about straight people here. I'm talking about straight people here. So if a man is in a relationship with a woman and he cares about this woman and he loves this woman, he's going to release oxytocin during intercourse, and that shows that he really loves this woman. But if he does not care about this woman, he's just going to knock and go. Quite interesting, isn't it? There's more for us to talk about in this video. Let's get started.
The drive for sex is part of men's makeup. Their testosterone, the amount of having 8-10 times more testosterone than a woman, like that just creates this desire. And oddly enough, men can only produce the bonding chemistry, men can only produce the bonding chemical of oxytocin after sex. In other words, sex is the only way he ever experiences a bonding agent. You as a woman, you can experience oxytocin in a number of different ways. This is why you bond to babies. You have a baby, you breastfeed that baby, that oxytocin starts pumping and the bond is formed. So when I say we're different species, what I mean is we're really, really different than each other.
A lot of people are ashamed to state what they want. So if you're not having sex that takes you to orgasm, you're not getting, at least from my knowledge, right, maybe I'm wrong, but you're not getting the full dose of oxytocin there. I also believe, I view oxytocin as like a God mechanism, meaning it was put there to help two people stay bonded together. Yes. So if we are married or whatever, and we're having great sex consistently, we're going to be much more bonded to each other. If we're not having great sex, we don't have that bond anymore. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Now it's so much easier for things to get in between. So I think that it's extremely important, but I will say that grade is subjective, and what level of quality that man or that woman needs is going to vary, but they have to have their needs satisfied or else you're asking for trouble.
Use sex as a weapon against your husband and have sex often is probably some of the most extraordinary advice I never got. As a working mom, we get tired, exhausted, overwhelmed, but it is dangerous to neglect our husband's needs. And I'll explain to you why. Sex is such a huge part of a man's identity. It's the way he emotionally bonds with us. And it's crazy because God wired his body this way. When a man experiences an orgasm, His body releases the bonding hormone, oxytocin, in such extraordinary amounts. Women experience it as well, but men do 400% times more. And so that skin-to-skin contact mixed with an orgasm creates deep connection. And I never just want to be a great mom. I never just want to be killing it in the workplace. But I desired for my husband to find me to be a good lover. Look forward to coming home to me. And through difficult conversations, because I was never taught this kind of stuff, I had to learn how to not look at sex as a chore or another responsibility on my to-do list, but enjoy my husband feeling respected and honored and wanted. Imagine if one day our husband came home and said, I don't feel like having sex with you. We would be massively offended and hurt. And so men need sex. It's how they came from the factory.
So why do men want sex all the time? Because they're slobbering animals, right? No, if you think that, you're going to have a major problem in your relationship. And maybe if you're a woman, that's been your experience with the men that you choose. But not all men are like that. One of the things we need to understand is that our trauma makes us choose certain people and certain patterns. But men want sex because of a biological need, absolutely. And that biological need is higher because they have higher levels of testosterone in their body. And that can appear to be the only reason they want it, but that's absolutely not true. Men need to make love to feel connected. Women need to feel connected to want to make love. And I'm not talking about sex. It's very easy to have sex. I'm talking about actually making love and connecting in that way. So men want to make love to feel connected to you. They do not get connected by lots of talking to you. Ladies, that works for you. Lots of talking makes you feel connected, but it does not do that for a man. So his way of being connected sometimes is to do things with you, absolutely, as in activities and things, which makes him feel connected as well. But primarily he gets connected by making love, not having sex, making love. So if he just has sex, his drive to connect is going to make him want to come back and have more sex. But it never fulfills him unless it's actually making love with you.
The link between oxytocin and fidelity may begin with the hormone's ability to make males view their partners as more attractive than other familiar and unfamiliar females. Research from 2012 suggests that the hormone may influence males to keep a greater social distance from attractive female strangers. Oxytocin, the love hormone, makes men in relationships want to stay away from other women. This is a result to the studies that was carried out on oxytocin. Unexpectedly, the men who had received oxytocin and who were also in monogamous relationships preferred keeping a significantly greater distance between themselves and the Tempest researcher. The hormone promoted bonding with their significant other, not the stranger. They stayed an average of 4 to 6 inches further back than oxytocin-induced singletons or anyone from the placebo group. This was a research. Sorry, I didn't talk about the methodology and all the processes, the placebo, the cohort and all that, but I just had to show this result because it shows the effect of oxytocin in male and female relationship when it comes to bonding and all that.
I've seen women, they will say, I've retired. Don't retire. As long as the man is alive. Now listen to this. People have said food is the way to a man's heart. It's a lie. There are very good restaurants where a man can get food. It's not food. You need to understand that a man does not want sex. A man needs it. Your husband, the marriage contest.
This is why sex is so important to a man. It eliminates his stress, lowers his blood pressure, eases his pain, it reduces his chance of prostate cancer, helps him maintain his energy, vitality, and physical and mental well-being, and allows him to have good night's sleep.
Let's have a look at the effect of sex on the prostate gland, they said it prevents cancer. When men ejaculate, the prostate gland releases fluid that potentially flush out toxins from the prostate gland, says Dr. Doran. It's possible that doing this more regularly helps keep cancer-causing substances at bay too. Plus, sexual activity helps improve the blood flow to the prostate gland. Can sex prolong a man's life, and how does it do that? It may prolong a man's life. Immune enhancement, deep relaxation, lower blood pressure, and less risk of prostate cancer and heart attack are associated with longer life. Could regular sex extend life? Yes, according to the scientists at the University of Bristol who studied 900 middle-aged men.
I think about it a lot.
You don't think about it a lot?
Maybe once a day.
You know what's weird? This is actually so dumb. Men want it more on average, I would say, than women do, yet women get the better climax. Like, actually, like, if you look at the science, women have so many more nerve endings than men, so I don't understand why it is that way. Like, you're over here like, I'm chilling, I'm good, I don't need it. But maybe you're just so satisfied. Maybe you're just like, maybe that's why. That's probably it, honestly.
Can a relationship still thrive without physical intimacy?
No, definitely not.
Physical intimacy is kind of like the differentiator between friendship and romantic relationship.
If you have no physical intimacy in a relationship, it just becomes a friendship. And you obviously want to have a good friendship and strong bond with that person. But what is the differentiation between a friendship and a relationship without physical intimacy?
As a woman, when I am feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, disappointed in the relationship, I don't want to be touched. I don't want intimacy. Whereas with men sometimes, and from my experience, their love language, so to speak, is to touch. And so their way to try to fix that relationship is to try to be intimate. And as a woman, I'm completely repulsed by it when my needs are not being met emotionally. So if your physical needs are not being met, it's because my emotional needs are not being met.
That's an issue. That's a huge issue.
But it causes relationships to grow apart because now the man feels rejected because he's not getting his physical touch from a woman, and the woman feels repulsed because her emotional needs are not being met. And that's a real conversation that a lot of people try to skirt around. And women will have sex with their man because they feel obligated, because if I don't have sex with him, he's going to cheat on me and be with another woman. But that man needs to have the same conversation, and like, my woman's backing off from intimacy because I'm not meeting her emotional needs. And by the way, another man will come around and meet those emotional needs. When we're drifting apart, somebody else can fulfill those needs, whether it's physically or emotionally. And that's a problem. And so it's not one or the other. If I feel like if a man really loves and cares about his woman and she's kind of losing her interest in him sexually, he should tap in and see what he's not doing for her emotionally.
So when we talk,
man, do you want to know the biggest reason why your wife isn't as excited to have sex with you as you are with her? No woman has ever regretted the amount of intimacy that was shared at the beginning of the relationship. And the reason is because that's when the most connection and intimacy building was taking place. There was more effort. There was more sharing stories and sharing feelings and sharing experiences. And when you shared all those things with your spouse in abundance, your wife felt really close to you, felt really connected to you, and you met her emotional needs, making her desire to be with you more. Now, a lot of that connection's not happening as much. A lot of it's just day-to-day stuff. You need to connect like you did at the beginning of the relationship. Find ways to share new experiences together, to talk about things maybe you've never talked about before. When you share new experiences with your spouse will begin to feel closer to you. And when they feel closer to you, they desire to be with you more. And that's how you can increase the sexual intimacy in your relationship.
Okay, so I just read a study about why women in relationships often want to stop having sex with their husbands, and it blew my mind. So apparently women go to the doctor and they're like, I don't know, what's wrong with me? My libido's bad. What should I do? And the doctor's like, something's wrong with your body, and does all these tests, and they don't know what's wrong. It's perimenopause or whatever. You're too stressed. Well, what they really found is that women whose husbands don't do as much domestic labor have a hormonal response that makes them not want to have sex with their husband. And the reason for this is that when women are caretaking children, their libido goes down and their caretaking goes up. It's actually a hormonal response. So when they feel their husbands are dependent on them for domestic labor, they have this response where their libido goes down and their caretaking goes up, and they feel kind of skeezed out because they're like, ew, I'm kind of having sex with someone I'm caretaking. So to quote the study, it says, the mother caregiver role that women find themselves cast in within heteronormative frameworks can cue this nurturant hormonal system which lowers desire and leads women to view dependent men's sexual overtures, talking about dependent for housework, as inappropriate, non-erotic, or even disgustful. Disgustful. So if you want to have sex with your wife, do more dishes.
When women do more household labor, they see their partner as dependent and their sexual desire dwindles. A new study published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior confirms that women in long-term relationships with men have been saying all along, when household labor is unequal, women's sexual desire declines. The study collected data from over 700 women partnered with men who also had children. The new findings indicate that the decline in the sexual desire may be related to two factors: the perception that the labor division is unfair and perceiving their partner as dependent on them. Household labor and sexual desire. The recent study shows that when women do the majority of the household labor, they start seeing their man as a dependent and lose sexual desire towards them. This makes a lot of sense. Decreasing libido in women is often treated as a medical issue rather than as the damaged relationship caused by toxic traditional gender roles. Interestingly though, when men do the majority of household labor, both him and the dependent woman lose sexual desire, as seen by this study. According to the authors, among heterosexual couples, expressions of sexual difference create sexual desire. Egalitarian pair marriages, where couples share all domestic tasks equally, can be quite happy, report the authors, although they tend to take on a sibling-like tonality that undermines sexual desire. So for a relationship that values sexual desire, what would the ideal breakdown of household labor be? Is it possible to split the labor equally while splitting it along traditional gender roles? How might the mental versus physical load factor into this? Maintaining a car, mowing the lawn, or shoveling snow seem to be more arousing than ironing or shopping for dust ruffles. Statistically speaking, do women in general lose attraction to their partners when they perform feminine coded roles and ignite attraction when they perform masculine coded roles? Or is the study too old and not relevant for modern relationships?
The number one reason why men stay in a sexless marriage or relationship. Hey, it's Brett Parker. I help men and women with relationships. If you're having little to no sex in your marriage or relationship, first and foremost, that's a giant freaking 911 warning. Your marriage, your relationship is on the brink. This is true for everyone except for these two types of couples. Number one, you're just not interested in sex, you have a low libido, and so does your husband or wife. Fine, this is not for you. Number two, you are a self-described and your partner is a self-described asexual. If you're asexual, you're not really interested in sex either, so this is not for you. But if you are interested in sex and intimacy and closeness with your partner and you're not having any or little sex, here's the thing. The man, your husband, your boyfriend, is there because he thinks it's temporary. He thinks it's going to get better. The problem is that it doesn't get better magically by its own. It only gets better if you work at it. And how do you work at it? By going to counseling? No. Counseling is a waste of time. 15% of couples that go to counseling save their marriage. That's the lowest success rate of any therapy there is. So, you have to work on it separately. Like if you're a woman, you don't have to work on it with your husband. You can work on it on your own. That's what I do. That's what I help people do. If you're a man, men come to me every day. Hey, my wife has gone cold. She's treating me like a roommate, like a friend, and she said she's not in love with me anymore. What can I do? Can I get it back? Yes, you can get it back, but you have to work at it. So if you're a man, if your husband, your boyfriend is part of this group that believes it's just temporary, or if you believe it's just temporary, it's not. It's the death knell for your relationship unless you do something. So, let's go.
Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.